Okay, so the drive begins. In about 2 hours, I'll be doing an in conversation in Chicago, although I'm living here in Sydney, talking about my new release for the biography Boy on Fire, the young Nick Cave in the USA, the paperback edition. I'm pretty excited about all that. There'll be a follow-through conversation in New York as well with David Frick, the renowned Rolling Stone rider, and pretty sort of fabulous music journalist and figure. So that'll be a real pleasure as well. It's been a strange couple of years for me, as I know it has been for most of us, thanks to COVID, lockdowns, the whole question of the virus and the way it affects our bodies, as does the vaccines, and our minds, just how we feel about life, what's going on in our world for ourselves and for our children, more especially. That really plagues me at night, what's happening next. You can probably tell as I drive along that it's raining. It's been pouring down here in Sydney for what feels like months on end, and is certainly at least about 5 weeks solid now, with one or two very small momentary sort of breaks in the weather. There's been flooding way up north. And I guess what I'm getting to in this loose rolling conversation is the strangeness of having had a very successful book and even a kind of happy period of my life at a time of global crisis, really, and maybe even a time when we're on the precipice. Inevitably, no matter how good things have been for me, after some tough times previous, those dark edges related to COVID, the state of the environment, most overtly at the moment the rains and the floods here in Australia, and of course what looks like a very big war developing in Europe out of the Ukraine, and other things as well, the collapse of Afghanistan and what occurred to people there. I've had a few dealings with Afghan refugees. It begins to become a bit of a grim list, and I feel like I'm sounding grim stating it all. And yet there's some strange push of hope against all that, that I hope is not deluded. In some respects, hope isn't a choice. If you're alive, it's an insistent beat. It's something that is intrinsically a part of what we are, just through having to breathe. So with our backs against the wall in different ways, we have no choice but to hope, or at least fight, which I would think is a manifestation of hope, even if we don't feel very hopeful. We do what we need to do. So here I am, sitting in a car in Sydney morning traffic, pissing down rain, thinking about my good luck and the strange bad luck of the world, trying to come to some sense of what I can do as a writer and a journalist, I guess to make a decent positive contribution to what's happening. There's been this creeping feeling in me that an incipient age of fascism is upon us, and that all these factors are sort of revealing the political conditions that also affect us, and that we are being pushed from two sides as individuals by a kind of pseudo left who manifest all kinds of judgmental and puritanical control mechanisms via the sort of conversations we're hearing around cancel culture, identity politics and the like. And then, of course, the right, who sort of relish those kind of divisive conversations and who kind of march forward through them while the left squabbles and pulls itself apart, and people who are more or less somewhere in the middle of all that, people such as myself, who once upon a time would have considered myself a pretty sort of left-wing person, but I really wonder now about the truths of those polarities. I certainly don't trust the media anymore. I don't mistrust it in the sense of sort of diving into every conspiracy theory running on the net. That way is madness. But most assuredly, there's a need to sort of scan across the media and the mediums to get to any serious truth about an issue that really bothers you. Most apparently, I'm thinking about things like COVID and the war in the Ukraine, but I think it's true of any situation or incident. So I will look at CNN, Democracy Now!, Fox News. In Australia, I'll look at the parallel channels like Sky TV, ABC, SBS, print media like The Australian, the Saturday paper, Sydney Morning Herald, and then a lot of things happening on YouTube, conversations with people, whether it's something like trigonometry or an interview with Noam Chomsky or Chris Hedges, or things happening through The Spectator and Spiked, which I think if you hear all those names you'll know are a sort of cavalcade of right and left leaning outlets. And through that kind of rain of information, if you like, I feel better able to discern what's going on, because the awful truth is mostly what we get if we just read one form of media that we like is a kind of reinforcement of our worldview, and an awful lot of information and thinking left out, and the narrative that pleases us is what destroys us. And we actually need narratives that bother us, narratives that trigger us, if you want to use that terminology, narratives that challenge us in order to strengthen what we truly believe, and just do a better job of living and trying to figure out what the fuck to do about what's going on in our lives, for our children, for this planet, I guess. So maybe that's a meaningful, constructive rave. Maybe that's a ramble. But I hope it's a useful reflection on a rainy day here in Sydney, and I hope that all of you, one way or another, have still got a little bit of fight left in you.